Hello there, and welcome to Talking Balls, the football show where fans have their say. Today, we're joined by a Liverpool fan to talk about their chances of winning the league and that match against Manchester United, and also a Chelsea fan about their season and life under Pochettino. So, first up, Danny, welcome to the show.
Hiya, bud. Thanks for having me. How are you?
Yeah, no problem. All good, mate. All good. Yeah. How are you, though, after that match against United?
Probably better now today than I was yesterday, to be honest with you. It's it's always a great game when we play the. I'm going to be nice on this tonight. Yeah, when we play Man United, it's always a challenge. It always brings out the emotion and stuff like that, and we've got some amazing history with them when it comes to games of football. So yeah, it was a cracker of a game yesterday, particularly if you're a neutral like yourself. If you're watching that as a neutral yesterday, you've absolutely got your entertainment's worth, I think.
Do you think that was a bit of a wasted opportunity, though?
From a Liverpool point of view, yeah, absolutely. I think that the finishing in the first half really, really cost us. From a creativity aspect, we've gone there, and I think it was 15 shots to nil, wasn't it, in the first half? They didn't have a shot on target or on goal in for the first time ever. I think that was at Old Trafford. Yeah. So, and yeah, plenty of opportunity, and I think in a game like a United game, you're relying on Nunes or Salah to show up and really, really, have a cracking game. And unfortunately, really, neither of them really showed up. All right, you could say, well, that's unfair because Salah scored a penalty and Nunes has assisted for Diaz. But when it comes to finishing yesterday, the two of them could have had cricket scores. They really could.
Yeah, I was looking at the stats before. I think it was 28 shots in that game. You had 18 from inside the box, but only 7 on target, which is crazy. So the sort of strikers just had that off day. I know they scored 2, but yeah, had an off day really.
Yeah, I would say so. I think when you look at what they've done this season so far, individually and collectively, yeah, definitely yesterday was an off day.
Yeah, I was talking about Nunes as well. I think he leads the assist charts in the Premier the season. Actually, which quite surprised me. But in total, he's had 11 goals from 41 shots, which is quite poor when you think from a striker. I mean, he's a striker. He's not one of those wide players for Liverpool. He is,
So what? 11 in 11? Did you say 11 in 41?
11 goals in 41 shots. Yeah.
So that makes him almost a 1 in 4, doesn't it? Now the Premiership sort of standard is 1 in 2. We've seen it in recent years with the likes. I mean, Haaland, for example, is going to blow the 1 in 2 out the water, you would think. But Salah's certainly been a 1 in 2, 1 and 1.5. And yeah, what I would say about Darwin though is he's a cult hero already. That goes without saying. The Kop absolutely love him, and quite rightly so as well, because the lad does give everything on the pitch. But what we've seen with him so far is that he'll miss the sitters and score the absolute worldies that you're thinking to yourself, no, you've got no chance there, son. I personally think there is still yet more to be seen from Nunes. I think he still will come good, and that's not blindsided Liverpool fan cobblers. I think the lad has got some incredible ability. You only have to go back to look at his time at Benfica as well. Some of the goals that he was pulling out there, and he is a menace. He's a nightmare to defend against.
Yeah, he's one of those players that's always buzzing around the box. He's always kind of there or thereabouts. But again, as a neutral, when you're watching Match of the Day or watching the highlights, I don't watch obviously Liverpool as much as West Ham, but you do see that he does kind of miss things. You're just thinking, how does he miss that? It happens probably too often than it should.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think there's been some there that you'd have had your nan scoring, and you'd have put your mortgage on it. But like I say, what we as Liverpool fans do love about Darwin is he's more than just a goal scorer. Like you said there, his assist level's unbelievable. His work rate's phenomenal. He'll pull defenders away to create chances for other forwards, including the likes of Salah and Diaz and Jota when he's fit. He's a real handful. He's a bag of tricks, and you'd certainly rather have him on your side than playing against you.
Yeah, I mean, the good thing with Liverpool is you've got goals from various sources, so you don't need to really rely on one player like like many clubs, like a Haaland. But if you're talking, and there's talk of Salah obviously going to Saudi at the end of the season. Don't know how true that is, but if he does, who's going to step up and get you those 20 goals a season? Do you think Nunez can do that?
Oh. In an ideal world, you'd like to think that Jota, Nunez, and Diaz, between the three of them, could really set a campaign on fire. We've got some cracking young kids coming through. The young Scottish kid there called Ben Doak, who's going to step up. But when you're talking about replacing Mohamed Salah, you're talking about replacing one of the top, what would you say, 5-10 players in the world football right now. So it's not a straightforward, easy swap. And we have to remember that when Jurgen signed him, he was the failure from Chelsea, who'd had one good season at Roma, wasn't it? And it was, what are they playing at, So I would like to think that whoever the next Liverpool manager is going to be has already thought of this and got their eye on someone,
Yeah, well, I was going to ask, actually, you mentioned that the three strikers there with Jota, Diaz and Nunez. Do you think you need somebody to come in as well? Do you think you need that fourth striker?
Absolutely. I mean, we were talking off camera before about your boy Jared Bowen, who's a name that's been bandied about. We also mentioned Mohamed Kudus, just from West Ham alone. Kudus is a phenomenal football player. But I think there needs to be another one of those type of players coming in, because injuries happen, particularly if you're relying on a three up top, or a two wide with one at the point. So yeah, absolutely, there needs to be another one. Yeah.
Do you know who that person might be? A reason I'm going to caveat that slightly. We had an Arsenal fan on last week that said he wouldn't take Haaland. He said he's not the right player for Arsenal. I can't see Haaland not getting in anywhere, to be honest. But your thoughts on that?
Yeah, my thoughts on that are, that is exactly why that kid's an Arsenal fan. that just, they behave. Erling Haaland is an absolute phenomenon. What he's achieved this season is incredible. Is there an argument that when he's not outside the box, he's useless? Yeah, there is. I think Roy Keane called him, what was it, a League Two player or a Championship player or something like that, didn't he? Which is a bit tongue-in-cheek when you look at the amount of goals that he scored in games. Don't get me wrong, it's incredibly hilarious, and it gets fans biting, which Roy Keane's very, very good at. But no, Haaland steps into any team in the world. If you look at that Liverpool side now, maybe, and you're thinking to yourself, Haaland at the top with Jota on one side and either Diaz or Nunez on the other side. That's a handful, isn't it? Haaland's incredible, and Arsenal have got a great side. What Arteta's done this season's nothing short of brilliant. Historically, they've been the bottlers. And I still expect them to bail on the title this season. I think it'll either be, I personally think it'll either be ourselves or City, and you'd have to favour City based on squad, and their historical know-how of getting over the line. Pep's very, very good at that. But no, Haaland absolutely walks into any team in world football.
Yeah, I agree, and I agree as well on the City, because I just think City are one of those teams that they've been there, they've done it, they've chased before. Obviously, you'll know that. They're very, very strong when it comes to those last games, and they don't drop many points. No,
I think the bitter Liverpool fan, for example, would sit there and say, yeah, look at the checkbooks they've had and the 115 charges that they're not getting pinched on and stuff like that, which will all come out in the wash at some point. That goes without saying. But take all that aside and forget all that. This rivalry that we've had between Jurgen and Pep has been nothing short of fantastic. It's been brilliant. Even last season when Liverpool were crap, we still gave City a game. And the respect between the two managers is absolutely incredible. And I think what Pep's done with that team, even these young kids who are popping through for them at the moment, you got Oscar Bob, for example, and young Rico Lewis, he's building again for the future, and it looks great, and when you've also got the money to be able to turn around and say, right, we'll go for Haaland and we'll sign, this super duper centre forward, then yeah, you're always going to be in with a high chance of winning everything, which they've done. But take all that aside, you've still got to have an identity, a style of play, and we've all played Football Manager, but you've got to find that formula, haven't you, where all the players work. And Pep's a fantastic manager, absolutely fantastic. And the champs are the champs for a reason. They're amazing, and I hate saying that, I really, really do, but they are incredible side.
Yeah, you got something stuck in your throat saying that. You can have a drink, mate.
Thanks, buddy. Yeah, I need one.
You touched also upon your youngsters there, and Liverpool do seem to have some really good youngsters coming through. Before we talk about that, though, I know that, and this again another painful point for you, but Kobbie Mainoo's goal in the game of the weekend was something special, wasn't
it? You're having a riot with me tonight, aren't you? You're having a really, really good time there, aren't you? Kobbie Mainoo. I've got a couple of pals who are United fans, and so I've seen bits and pieces of United because I like to watch all football. Liverpool's my team, always will be, but I'm not one of these who'll turn a game of footy off. I love football, and young Mainoo he's really come to the fore this season, and that goal against us yesterday was absolutely fantastic. He's picked it out the top corner of the net, and the turn that he's got on it, and the finish is fabulous. And he looks a real talent, doesn't he? He looks really, really good, and that's a shame. But it's also, I guess, something for the national team to be having a look at as well when you're talking about that midfield position, and the likes of the Hendersons and that of this world are getting a bit older now, and we've got the younger kids in the midfield there, and I can see if Alexander-Arnold gets given a shout in that midfield role, whether it be in a defensive midfield position or an attacking wide player, and you got in with the Fodens and the Mainoos and stuff like that, it's really, really exciting. From a United point of view, they must be over the moon because, you've got such inconsistency there with some big names. Rashford, Harry Maguire. Let's talk about Maguire for a second, right? Harry Maguire has been awful for as long as I can remember. I mean, he's got a full-on 50p head, and yesterday he's had the best game of his life, hasn't he? And it's funny that it can take a game like that to really, really help you stand up. But yeah, no. Going back to the Mainoo, he's a kid. I mean, he's going to be a good player.
Yeah, hopefully he does go to the Euros. I think Henderson's had his run. I just think he's had his run. He was good in his day, but come on, let's time to move on.
I totally agree with you. I think players like what you got to remember with Southgate is that he's very, very much they're my mates and I love them and I'll have them in the squad. Whether he comes out with some blag like, well, they've both been captains and they've both got a lot of experience to offer us and stuff like that. I still think there's younger generation footballers coming through now that should be going to the Euros this year.
Yeah, I mean, touching on Harry Maguire, funnily enough, he's a player I would take at West Ham because I think he's the type of player that he's good in his own box. Like, he's not good if he's pushed up at the halfway line. And I think that's probably why he shone yesterday, because you were so dominant. Liverpool was so dominant against United. They were pegged back so much. So that kind of suits his play.
Where would you have him? Would you have him next to, what was the name of the geezer who kicked the cat?
Zuma. Well, that's the problem.
Zuma.
His knees are gone. So I think he's a player that he's been going backwards this season. So for us, he's not been great. Our whole defence, to be honest, is iffy. Mavropanos isn't great. Right. I think we've got Agard who's gone on strike. He's just hidden away, so he's in the background. So yeah, we need a bit of a rebuild, but never mind.
Yeah, I think if it maybe a change of scenery, and because let's have it right, in his Leicester days he wasn't such a bad footballer, was he? And there's something about Manchester United that can really damage you, isn't there? And so I say that tongue in cheek, of course, but yeah, maybe a change of scenery and a bit more of an experienced head in the back four for the Hammers. He might do you a job.
Yeah, then I'm going to move away from Man U now. I know that's not why you're here. We'll talk about the youngsters.
Thanks, bud. Thank you.
We talk about the youngsters at Liverpool. Obviously, you've got some very players that have probably been pushed into the team earlier than expected, but they seem to be coping very well. How do you think they've done?
There was a phrase, wasn't there? If you're good enough, you're old enough, and I think that was once thrown at Michael Owen for Liverpool. So this season, once again, Jarell Quansah has been phenomenal, and that's why I feel for the kid on what happened on Sunday, because he's just not looked over his shoulder as he's knocked that ball across, and schoolboy error, and you can point the fingers all you want. It takes 90 minutes to win a football match. One moment can always happen. Do you know what I mean? I think Quansah is a fantastic player. I think he's being schooled by, educated, I should say, by Virgil van Dijk, which isn't such a bad centre half to learn off. And with Joel Matip leaving us potentially in the summer, and unfortunately the amount of injuries that Big Ibu Konate gets in a season, we struggle to keep him fit, which is a real shame, because on his day he's incredible, and let's not forget he's only a kid himself. I think he's only about 23, 24. So Jarell's been fantastic. Jarell Quansah, I'm a big fan of his. Young Connor Bradley, our right back. It's been a season for him. It's been absolutely fantastic. He got his worldie of a goal. He's filled in lovely. He's been capped by Northern Ireland. He scored for Northern Ireland as well. It's exciting, and I think one of the things about Liverpool and being a Liverpool fan is that you're always waiting for the next one to come off the production line. That's the way we've always been. Whether it was Fowler, it was Gerrard, it was Owen, it was McManaman, it was whoever it might be. And at the moment, Jurgen is very, very much bringing through that next sort of generation. We've got young Jayden Danns there. His dad Neil used to play professional football, and we've got coming through Bobby Clark as well. His dad, of course, was the great Lee Clark from Newcastle. So we've got some good young kids coming through. Not to mention the likes of young McConnell, who's stepped through this season, and our goalkeeper Kelleher, who's had to jump in place of Alisson. Now, some people watching this won't agree with me, and I'm perfectly fine with that, because they're wrong, and I'm absolutely right when I say that Alisson Becker is the best goalkeeper in world football. He really, really is. And so to step in and replace him, like young Keller has had to do, and bear in mind as well, he only plays the League Cup or the odd Europa League game. I think he's done really, really well. But this is the difference between us and the champs, because if we have an injury in one area, we have to rely on bringing the kid in, whereas City have got an equally as good player to put in before the kid comes in. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. They've blooded some great themselves. Young Foden, for example, he's great, and he's a cracking player. Young Rico Lewis, I think, is a big talent as well. And this young kid Oscar Bob, who's coming through. They've got some great players there themselves. But when their first team, they're seen as you would call them, more experienced players get injured, they've got equally experienced players to bring in, and we haven't got that luxury, and that's why this season's not been such a bad season for us.
Yeah. You've got 7 fixtures left, so we'll kind of go through those and get your thoughts on what could be the potential banana skins. Obviously, next up you've got Palace. So win, lose, or draw that one. It's at home.
Yeah, we've got Palace Sunday, haven't we? After Atlanta on Thursday night. So yeah, I'm gonna go win on that one. That is, I mean, Ed, I'm gonna say it now, Mark, and I don't want to toe the politically correct line. They're all potentially banana skins, because we still got to play them clowns from across the park yet, haven't we? But I'll go for a win against Palace.
Okay, no worries. Obviously, you got Fulham away.
Yeah.
I was at the Fulham versus Tottenham game when Fulham were at home. They absolutely dominated Tottenham. I mean, Tottenham were poor, but I couldn't believe how good Fulham were. They were amazing to watch. But
was Harry Wilson playing?
Not sure. I can't remember the
ex Liverpool winger. He's done all right
he
down
was
there, I
actually,
think.
yeah.
Yeah. No, I think we can do Fulham as well. I'd go for a Liverpool win against Fulham.
The one you mentioned there was Everton away, their cup final.
The 2-point crew. Yeah, we're going to win the derby. We're not getting beaten in the derby. Not if there's a title. You know, it largely depends as well on. No, I can't say that. No, Klopp's going to want to go out and absolutely go for it. Yeah, I would go for a win in the derby.
Fair enough.
But that is a potential banana skin, because I can remember going back a couple of seasons. If you remember, Phil Jagielka scoring an absolute weldy of a half volley against us, and it's the only thing he did in his career against us. You know, it's one of them places. Funnily enough, actually, last year I bumped into Duncan Ferguson, had a chat with him in town, told him I was a Red, and he was fine with it, and we had a good laugh. And nice guy, actually, nice guy. And I was chatting to him, and I said to him, Mason, what was it about you? I said, bloody awful forward. I said, but you couldn't half put a ball in the back of the net against us. And he started laughing, and he said, you know what? He said, whenever I was playing a derby, he said, I was always confident I was going to score against Liverpool. Incredible. Right. When you look at his goals per games every season, he wasn't really such a great goal scoring forward, but yet in the derby, he always believed he could hit the back of the net.
Yeah, he's one of those players. I mean, yeah. You won't want to argue him in the street as well.
Well, the two fellas broke into his house, didn't they, and got their just rewards for that. So yeah, funny.
Then you got West Ham away.
I love the Hammers, you know. Bowen, Kudus. That could be a draw. That could be a banana skin for us. That could be.
Yeah. Again, we're one of those teams. On our day, we're okay, and then on another day, the defense falls apart.
It does depend on what West Ham show up. You know, if your back four's solid, going forward, Bowen, Kudus, Luca Paqueta, who I think's a great football player, and even Mikel Antonio's been known to bully us about a little bit. You know, there's some good talent there down at and I hate saying that because Moyes is the manager, you know, but yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. You got Tottenham at home again. That could be another banana skin.
Yeah, some great players there again. Kulusevski, Son, some real talent. No, I think we beat Tottenham. I think we do them. Yeah, I'm quite confident we do them. Yeah.
Fair enough. Then Villa away.
Now that's a banana skin. Unai Emery historically has got some great record against Jurgen Klopp. If you look at the likes of the Sevillas and the cup finals and stuff like that when he was manager. But no, I think we take the 3 there. Oh, is that at Villa? Is it?
It's at Villa.
It's at Villa. Yeah, I would still have us for that one.
And the last, I mean, yeah, to be fair, when you look at Everton, West Ham, Tottenham, Villa, that's a tough run. Actually, that is quite a tough run because, you'd have to go for it there. And the last home game is Wolves at home.
You've got to fancy us against Wolves. You'd have to. It's really, really difficult. And for any of the neutrals watching this, I know I might have come across as maybe a little bit arrogant there by the amount of 3 points that I've given Liverpool. But what I would say to challenge that is this: you've got to look at where we are in the table at the moment, and let's have it right. On the back of last season and the fact that we lost our midfield in terms of Fabinho, Henderson, and all the experience and everything that comes along with that, we weren't supposed to be in the title race this season. You know, the likes of a Szoboszlai coming in and Endo, who I think 90% of footballers in this football fans in this country laughed at when they found out we were signing some Japanese kid that no one had ever heard of from Germany for like 19, 20 million quid. You know, we're not supposed to be in this run, and that's down to how much quality Jurgen Klopp is as a manager, I believe. So I think I thoroughly expect Arsenal to bottle it because they always do. that's what they're great at. They're very, very good at bottling it. And then, do you know what? I think the champs are just going to nick it. I really do.
They've got the easiest running. They do have an easier running.
Yeah, it's difficult. I've heard people saying that Liverpool have got the easy running, but when you look at those teams, like you said before, there's 3 or 4 potential banana skins there for us. On our day, the attacking heavy metal style football that we play it's great to watch, and it's so exciting to be a Liverpool fan. It really, really is. It's been an amazing season. To win 1 trophy and still be in the shout with 2 others is nothing short of incredible when you think of where we were last season. But if I'm being realistic about it, it's Sunday's game, the draw at United. It's how we react to that now. If we go out to on Sunday against Palace and we hit them for 4 or 5 and we really turn them over, then Liverpool are back in the running for the race again. I believe that. But 3 points there against United was an absolute must, especially because we knew what Arsenal and City had done prior to kick-off, you know.
Yeah. I think Arsenal have still got Spurs to play as well. So again, it's another cup final for them. So yeah, I probably agree. I think Spurs will turn up against Arsenal just to see them mess it up.
I wonder if Spurs would stove Arsenal in and then roll over for us. Do you know what I mean? Just to make sure Arsenal didn't get anywhere. No, I mean the North London derbies. You know, there's a couple of derbies that I always enjoy watching as a neutral, and that's certainly one of them. Be great to have Sunderland back in the Premier League, so we could have the North East one again. And then of course the Merseyside derby is always the one for me.
Yeah, fair enough. Obviously, you mentioned Klopp there as well, so you have to talk about the work he's done there. Funny enough, I was listening to TalkSport earlier today, and they were saying that if Liverpool wins the league, but Luton Town stay up, then Rob Edwards would have done the harder task and should get Manager of the Year. Your thoughts on that one?
Wow. Okay. So if Liverpool win the league and Luton stay up, Rob Edwards should get Manager of the Year. Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? It really, really is interesting because Luton are probably the most inexperienced of all the teams in the Premier League when it comes to top flight football. Sheffield United have been bouncing around for a few years, haven't they? And you know, Forest are in that mix. Everton are in that mix. Brentford are only just out of it, I think. Who's the club I'm missing? Who are in the bottom 3 at the moment? It's Luton. You've got Burnley, of course.
Yeah.
Vincent Kompany's, you know, he's got great Premier League experience. He's been one of the great Premier League players. So I'm going to go biased on this one, aren't I? I mean, what if Luton do stay up? What Rob's done there is nothing short of a bloody miracle. Yeah. It really would be incredible. I mean, you're playing in people's back gardens, for God's sake. You know what I mean? It's a fairy tale story. It really, really is. TalkSport talk crap, to be honest with you. I don't like them as a radio station. They're very, very anti-Liverpool anyway. But that's not, you know, for any reason other than the fact that they, you know, you've only got to spend 5 minutes listening to Jason Cundy and you can just understand why Liverpool fans don't like TalkSport. But no, I think if Klopp manages to win the league this year, given that we lost our entire central midfield area and had such a flop last season, and we've gone on to win the league this year while City have got the likes of Haaland and De Bruyne and Foden, and you know, I think Jurgen Klopp's got the greater achievement there. I really do.
Yeah. Fair enough. I wonder if the Liverpool team.
What's your thoughts on that? Just curious. What's your thoughts on that?
I think it's a tough one. I think obviously you're sitting
really
in the Europa League as well, so you got the Lenza game coming up. So I think if he does that, then because you already won one as well, haven't you? Is it League Cup you've won?
Yeah, we won the League Cup.
Yeah. So if you win the treble, I think yes, because that's not expected. I think Liverpool has still they've got a very strong chance. It's always between Liverpool, City, and Arsenal at the moment. I think Luton Town would I kind of have them pegged as being worse than Sunderland's 15 points, getting absolutely spanked every week. But the style of football they play as well is fantastic. Luton, it's great to watch.
Yeah, do you know what they've come up? They've really given it a go. And I can remember a post-match interview when we played them, and Rob was just so humble. The same as Chris Wilder, actually, when we played Sheffield United the other week, and you're listening to them and they're saying, like, it was just a pleasure to be in Anfield and, listen to the atmosphere and be around Jurgen and the staff, and we're treated like royalty and blah, blah, blah. And, while you're listening to them, you're like, hang on a minute, you've also just been beaten by us, you know what I mean? It was a football match, you're out for your 3 points and stuff.
Yeah.
But I think the sides that come up now from the Championship, I love their sort of, we respect everyone, but my God, we're going to go at your attitude. I think that's the right way to go about it. I really do. And, you're better to get beat 5-0 on the pitch, having had a go and really giving your own fans something to cheer about, than to get beat 2-0 just because you stuck, done a Mourinho and parked the bus. So, if Luton stay up this year, that would be some story, actually. That really would be some story.
Yeah, it'd be amazing. Touching upon the Europa League, as you mentioned there, you've got Atalanta. Obviously, there's a few other good sides in that competition still. Leverkusen being one that we've got. But what do you think you could win that? Do you think that's probably your favourites for it, aren't you?
I don't know. Are we currently favourites for it still? Are we?
Yeah.
This favourites, Lark. It's by people who love to muck about with money, isn't it? You look at what Xabi Alonso's doing with Bayer Leverkusen out in Germany at the moment. They're unbeaten. We're not unbeaten. Do you know what I mean? So who's the favourites, really? The Premier League, is it a better league than the Bundesliga? In my opinion, yes.
Yes.
But what Xabi is doing out there is immense. It's really quite incredible. And there's still some big names left in it. I think we beat Atalanta over the 2 legs. And then it becomes a case then of who do we get. I'd like to see a Liverpool Bayer Leverkusen final, actually. That'd be something in Dublin as well. It's still in Dublin at the moment, isn't it? There's been talk of moving it and stuff, apparently, because of the there was some chat I was hearing recently about potentially having to move it because of I don't know if it was facilities or something like that, but I hope that's not the case, because Dublin's a great city and that would be a great venue to host it. But yeah, Liverpool Leverkusen final, and then it's a flip of the coin for me there. It's a flat out 50-50 game of football, that, because Leverkusen's style of play is incredible. Their possession, their movement, let's have it right. It's the reason we wanted Xabi Alonso to be the successor of Jurgen Klopp. So, but yeah, it's a flip of a coin who wins it in the final.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. Of course, who would you want to replace Klopp? It's a bit irreplaceable, really. A statue's already being built somewhere, I'm sure.
Yeah, carved out. It's like when you asked me before who replaces Mo Salah. There's no right answer to this, and a lot of Liverpool fans will have their own opinions and views on this. At the moment, we're being linked with Amorim from Portugal, who apparently comes with good pedigree and is doing some good stuff out there. From a Premier League point of view alone, we've been linked with De Zerbi. We've been linked with Unai Emery, of course, who's been a thorn in the side of Jurgen Klopp for several games. We've been the name Thomas Frank's been banded around from Brentford.
Yeah,
probably because of the way he sets his team up. They haven't got the players quite for the system, but the style of play is actually really quite good at Brentford. Would I want him at Liverpool? Who do you have to replace Jurgen Klopp? You don't.
You can say David Moyes if you want.
Yeah, no, you're right. Thanks. No, we're good for that. He's been on Merseyside once and it was hysterical. We don't need it twice. I think I would like to see Amarin come in. I really, really would. Now, if that didn't happen, other names, as I mentioned there, Thomas Frank, De Zerbi, Nagelsmann as well, the German boss Nagelsmann.
Yeah.
Apparently, he's been banded around as well. But if it wasn't Amarin and we were to go for a more experienced head, I would like to see Unai Emery come in. Actually, I think he could do well with the players that we've got. It's all a matter of opinion, and there'll be a lot of Reds out there who'll disagree with me over that. But the ideas of bringing Jabi Alonso in now seems to be well and truly over, doesn't it? He's going to stay another season at Leverkusen, and I think he was pretty much every Reds' favourite for replacing Jurgen.
Yeah. Unai Emery does play the right way, so I think it would suit Liverpool as well.
So, of course, Jurgen's number 2, Pep Linders, or Linders, depending on what part of the country you're from. He would have. I think he could have done a decent job as well. And you're going back to that old sort of boot room mentality. But it looks pretty much nailed on that him and Jordan Henderson will have a reunion next year, and he'll go and coach Ajax, which isn't a bad club really for your first gig in managerial football. You know, what a great club they've been over the years.
Yeah, they got spanked 6-0 at the weekend, didn't they, by Feyenoord, record loss?
Did they really?
Yeah, absolutely hammered.
Blimey, yeah. Well, in that case, then they probably do need him. But interestingly enough, actually mentioning Unai Emery to you before, I noticed the other week. Have you seen who his number 2 is?
No.
His number 2 is Paco Ayster, who, of course, was Rafa Benitez's number 2 at Liverpool when Rafa first arrived at Liverpool. So that could be a nice little bit of a fairy tale sort of situation, if you will. But yeah, I think Amarin's the favourite at the moment. He's young, he's hungry, his style of football is very good, and he's doing well in Portugal.
Yeah, fair enough. Obviously, the news broke today as we're talking in your area of Liverpool. Everton have got a further 2-point ban, take 2-point deduction, taking them down to 17th place. Are you happy about that?
Do you reckon Blues are going to watch this podcast?
Probably.
Because I'm going to get an absolute ear bending over this, aren't I, no matter what I say. I mean, let's have it right. It's hilarious that, you know, it's a very Everton thing to happen, isn't it? Getting charged for the same offence twice. But it's rotten, isn't it? I mean, it's rotten to the core.
Yeah.
You know, it's oh God, I've had some fun with it though. I mean, the banter's been incredible. It's been really, really funny to watch. But fundamentally, is it right? No. It's probably not, especially when you think that they worked with the Premier League or they worked with the FA, didn't they, to say to them, look, you know, we've done this, we're sorry, sort of thing. And you know, prior to that, they had Usman off, so maybe they deserve point deductions anyway. But no, let's be honest about it. Let's not be bitter about it. The truth of the matter is being done twice for the same crime stinks. It's shocking. And whilst it is amusing and a great point of hilarity for Reds on Merseyside, I think most Liverpool fans would agree that that it is naughty, and you know, we don't want them to go down because you'd lose the Merseyside derby. I mean, don't get me wrong, it'd be hilarious because the only thing that they've got left to chant about is the fact that they're the longest serving top flight Premier League club, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So it would be funny. But I love the Merseyside derby. I got a lot of good pals who are Blues, who are good Blues season ticket holders, great lads, great girls, and you know I do think it stinks, and I think if I'm being bluntly honest and blatantly honest, I think what will happen is at the end of the season, you know, we'll all owe Everton a big thank you, because I believe, and this is just my own personal belief, I believe that Everton have been done so that the FA can open the floodgates and go after the big boys who've done things that are far worse. I believe Neville Southall, the great Everton goalkeeper from years gone by, said on the radio after the first points decision. He said, "Yeah, we'll take that and let's just move on now for the rest of the season." Because if we're honest about it, and I'm being really, really respectful here to the clubs that are below Everton, they're not going to overtake Everton, even with this 2 point reduction. You know, they're going to finish below Everton, and I think, and it is a conspiracy theory. It's one that I do believe, though. I do believe that the powers that be have looked at this and thought, right, Everton can't go down here. They're going to be all right. They've got too much to stay up, too much to go down. So what we'll do is this is a perfect opportunity to get them on a technicality with a view to opening the book. And I think this is the way that the FA can then get their hands on the likes of the Chelseas and the Man Cities and stuff like that further down the line. But then, equally, they've got the lawyers from the Abu Dhabis and the Dubais of this world who are just going to keep causing murder. And what's got to happen is the FA have really, really got to, and the Premier League, they've really, really got to step up and give it to Chelsea and give it to City like they've done to Everton, because otherwise that wouldn't be fair. Nottingham Forest look like they're going to get it again. I believe Leicester City are somewhere involved in this as well, aren't they, potentially? So they're
ducking the rules though, because they're saying, well, we got those points deduction when we're in the Prem, and we're now not in the Prem, so we shouldn't abide by Premier League rules. That's the thing they're saying. But then if they come up, they're saying, well, okay, well, when you come up, we're going to get you somehow. So that's a really interesting one. I think this whole FFP has just not been thought out. The more charges you have, the more you can get away with it. It's really strange.
It really, really is. And but there's a lot of rules in football that I think need clearing up and clarification as well. Some of the things that we've seen with the VAR have been absolutely shocking. You will have United fans, and you'll see this all over your social media at the moment, United fans saying that Harvey Elliott dived and, it was never a penalty for Salah to score at the weekend and stuff like that, forgetting the fact that the guy who went in on Harvey Elliott didn't even touch the ball. So therefore it is a penalty. But what needs to happen is there needs to be more clarification. We shouldn't still be having these conversations. The rules need to be black and white, and that's not happening. And football generally doesn't help itself. And I think that's really, really unfortunate, because you've then got your what would deem to be smaller clubs, should we say, those that aren't as financially well off. They feel the pain, when they get penalised, they feel it a lot more than the clubs at the top end of the table, for example. But the rules need to be fair and the same for everybody. That absolutely needs to be the case. And I think the governing bodies they're crap. They're really not that good. If me and you are doing our job like that at work, we're absolutely getting banged to task, and this doesn't seem to be happening. So with the FA, but yeah, this Everton, going right back to this Everton thing once again, I think it stinks. I think it's naughty.
Yeah, I agree. Danny, thanks very much for your time. Definitely want to get you back on as we get closer to that running. But it's been brilliant having you on and talking about Liverpool.
Thanks for having me, champ, and yeah, good luck to the Hammers for the rest of the season.
Cheers, buddy. We might meet in the Europa Cup. I hope not.
You never can tell. Never can tell. Take care, bud. God bless.
Cheers, buddy.
Cheers, man.
Okay, next up we have Chelsea fan Bogdan, as we were talking about FFP. So, Bogdan, thanks very much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you very much for inviting me as well. I'm really glad to be here. But yeah, thank you very much.
No worries, buddy. And we'll sort of we'll talk about some of the Chelsea games, but we'll just touch upon FFP just because we were following on from Danny there. That Chelsea have already kind of admitted that they've been a bit naughty, and I think we all know that. I think it was 1.19 billion or something they've spent. Do you think that a points deduction or even relegation is possible?
I mean, talking about points deduction, obviously 1 billion sounds quite a lot. It does quite a lot. Comparing to Everton, for example, as well, or Nottingham Forest, it just sounds ridiculous, the amount of money Chelsea has paid over a couple of years time. But, just the thing with the contracts as well, obviously, like I said, we have Enzo Fernandez, we have Mykhailo Mudryk as well, who has been signed for like 8 years at least.
Yeah,
which does make sense, to spend so much money as well. But I'm sure it will be regulated in the foreseen future, like those length of the contracts as well, and the money spent on the players. But yeah, I do agree that 1 billion sounds quite crazy, to be honest.
Yeah, it's crazy money. It's crazy money. But that's Chelsea. If they've got it, then they can spend it. I think this is the weird thing about FFP, and I don't think the rules are very clear. And I also think it's kind of strange how, like, I don't know how much, we probably will never know how much dodging or creative accounting, should we put it, that Chelsea and Man City have done. But it seems the fact that the more complex it is, the more they can put it off. So if, as a Chelsea fan, if you were deducted points, if you know those points deduction were coming, would you rather take them now or next season?
Obviously, being not in the great position in the table, I would rather take them now, I guess, those points deduction, because I mean the 2 seasons that been so far were horrible, to be honest, for Chelsea. With new managers coming, with new owner coming as well, it just sounds unimaginable, the fact that Chelsea is like not in the top of the league, to be honest. I mean, at least in the top 6. But yeah, specifically as for this question, I'd rather take them down now, because I don't think there is a lot of chances, to go in the top of the league, just to try to compete for Champions League. So yeah, I think next season is going to be a bit better. So yeah, for sure.
Fair enough. So I think so Chelsea have had two games last week. Obviously, we've got to talk about that Manchester United game, which I mean, the week before it was the West Ham Newcastle game, and I thought that would be game of the season, because I even as a West Ham fan, which obviously it was horrible for me, but you were on the better end of this result, the Chelsea Man U game. What were your thoughts on that one?
I just watching the last couple of minutes of the game was just unimaginable, to be honest. The emotions every single fan of Chelsea got, I think, is just incredible, to be honest. Cole Palmer scoring 2 goals literally just within a couple of minutes is just I think the whole day was made by Chelsea, to be honest, for me at least. I was so happy just after the game. So, but yeah, it was a beautiful game as well.
Yeah, it was a brilliant game. Funny enough, I was speaking to Danny beforehand. I think he said that he wasn't feeling too great. He had a headache, so he left the game just before it ended. And then when he came back, he was like, "Oh wow, Chelsea actually did it." So, but yeah, it was a brilliant game. But how Manchester United switched off for that last goal, just the defense went totally to sleep, was just crazy.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, talking about Chelsea as well, it's just kind of a team, especially this season, with a roller coaster. I will just call it a roller coaster. Every single game is just, you can't really expect what's going to happen, to be honest. And yeah, Manchester United, obviously I think Chelsea switched off as well during the first half, just winning 2-0, and then having 2 goals in our net as well, which is kind of a bit upsetting, to be honest. But I mean, yeah, Manchester United, obviously it was quite a tiring game as well. A lot of emotions happened, but I completely understand why Manchester United kind of were missing a couple touches maybe as well. Having Madueke getting penalty as well is just on the last seconds as well. I mean, but yeah.
One of those games where you just, as a fan, you jump off your seat if that's your team. Like, you can't stay sitting down after that sort of match.
Exactly, that's what happened to me as well, for sure.
I bet, mate. You touched upon Cole Palmer there as well. So I mean, he's a player that as a West Ham fan, you watch him and he just seems fantastic. What is he like week in, week out? And do you think he should be a regular for England?
I mean, seeing Cole Palmer just in the first season as well, having 25 goals plus assists as well. I mean, it sounds really crazy to me, to be honest, as well. And being such a young player as well. I mean, and just helping the team in such a wonderful way. I mean, he's having a huge impact in the team for sure. But talking about England, I mean, obviously we all know that English national team is such a competitive. It is such a competitive country. Talking about football, and surely, I think Palmer should have a chance as well. In the national team. Just starting him would be really nice for Chelsea fans for sure as well.
Yeah, of course. I think in the recent friendlies, I'm not even sure if he got on. I don't think he played, did he?
Yeah, I'm not sure as well. To me, at least I didn't see him, on the pitch. There's the problem.
Yeah. I know the England national team is not your team, so I'm not going to ask you too much on that, Bogdan. But yeah, I don't even think he got on. It was really strange. I know everybody's talking about Mainu and the breakthrough that he's having, but Cole Palmer just seems to be the bright light of Chelsea at the moment. I think he's dragging them through quite a few games, and he's the driving force. So yeah, hopefully we do see him a bit more.
Yeah, I really hope so as well.
And obviously, we've got to talk about Chelsea's season so far. You mentioned it's a roller coaster. What are your thoughts on Chelsea this season, and where does that blame lie? Is it the owners, is it the players, or is it the manager?
I mean, obviously, we have to remember that we have a new owner as well, and probably all the bad stuff that started to happen happened after the owner, a new owner as well. I mean, obviously, we have to remember Porter. We have to remember Lampard as well, which did not do quite well during last season as well. It's just, I mean, there are other factors that can obviously affect, the Chelsea's game, but obviously I think everything just comes from the top everywhere, I guess, so owner, I guess, is not the perfect, not the perfect time as well. So, yeah.
Yeah. And I was just going to touch upon, I know Lampard obviously is a legend there. Is he still considered a legend after such a poor spell as manager?
I mean, it's quite a good question, to be honest, but obviously as a footballer, such a great player as well, like everyone was just, even me as well, I'm a centre midfielder because I'm playing football as well, and just seeing him playing back in the days, just seeing him just controlling the game all the time, it's just unimaginable, to be honest, such a great player. But after being manager, after this poor half of the season, I mean, it's quite difficult to say if he's a legend now. But I mean, yeah, as for football, as a football player, I'm sure he will be always a legend in my team, in our team as well. So, yeah.
I don't quite think it was his fault as well. He was probably manager too soon, brought into the club at a very difficult period. He just didn't have the experience. So I'd probably forgive him, even as a West Ham fan. I know he's West Ham and went to Chelsea, but he was fantastic at Chelsea. I mean, he's a great player. And so, talking about the manager, Pochettino, what are your thoughts on him?
I mean, at the beginning of the season, I actually thought that Pochettino is going to be our savior, to be honest. With great experience at Tottenham, for example, just leading Tottenham to the final of Champions League. Just what was that, like 4 years ago or something? He was just, I mean, I actually thought that is going to be a great season for Chelsea, and with so many signings as well, I mean, how would you expect Chelsea to be in the middle of the table again? I just don't know. But obviously a lot of fans are quite fuming about Pochettino's work as well. But I guess I will have to say that Pochettino should be out as well at this point.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's harsh. I think you're Chelsea are 6th in the form table, so they're actually doing better now. There's still an outside chance of Europe, but not sort of Champions League. There's an outside chance of Europe, so there's a potential it could still be a good season. That's if FFP doesn't come in and ruin it and sort of drag you back down anyway. But yeah, he's had a lot of players come in, which is always hard to have that many changes. A lot of young players. You've still got the youngest squad in the Premier League as well.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, talking about Chelsea as one of the youngest team, and maybe even the youngest teams in Premier League, as you mentioned. I mean, it's good to have a lot of potential in the team, a lot of ambition as well. But we have to understand that sometimes experience should play a huge role in a team as well. The only player that actually can kind of try to affect the game with experience, I say, is just Thiago Silva. And that's it. And we all know that he's quite old already as well. And other than that, he's just young players. So obviously they are really good on the ball. They have loads of potential, as I mentioned before. But sometimes there should be a mature player that can kind of shout at someone at this point, or just control the game with his experience. Yeah,
I think he's 37 now. I think Thiago Silva, which is crazy. And when you think you've got him, but you've still got the youngest average age squad, take him out, and it's a youth team.
Yeah, it sounds crazy, to be honest, for me as well. With Thiago Silva being 37 and the whole squad being like 23 and stuff, and still being the youngest team, it's just it's quite tough. It's quite tough.
It is mad. So I was looking at your sort of remaining fixtures as well. You've still got 3 London derbies there. You've got Arsenal, Tottenham, and West Ham. I mean, as I say, there's still an outside chance of Europe. I think if you've got 2 games in hand as well, which will probably put you about 7th. So, do you think that you could still make Europe as Chelsea?
I mean, as I mentioned before, Chelsea is kind of a roller coaster now. You just, for example, Man United game, such a big game, and Man United is a great team as well. But for example, drawing with Sheffield, I mean, how is it even possible, to be honest, and you just can't expect anything from Chelsea, to be honest. I mean, it would be really nice. It would be absolutely fantastic to be in the just competing for Europe league, or just at least something, for the next season. But it's really difficult to imagine, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really.
What are Chelsea missing? What do you think needs to happen? I mean, so you've got enough players there, but where are you not performing? Is it up front? Is it defence? You're just not getting hold of the midfield. Where's the big problem?
I mean, for example, Pochettino, yeah, his tactics are quite defensive, so he likes to play the ball from defense, just passing through the middle as well. So yeah, I think defensive side as well I mean, a lot of work should be done as well, with 52 goals conceded, I guess. Yeah, 52 goals conceded in this season, but I think attacking side of things should be corrected in a proper way as well, I guess. You know what I mean? We have Cole Palmer, who is the best goal scorer in the team, who is not even a striker, who is number 10 and playing right wing as well, which is not great, to be honest. And I guess, yeah, the main aspect is just a good striker, to be honest. For example, the whole community of Chelsea had really big hopes for Nicholas Jackson, for sure. But the problem is he's not really a striker, to be honest. He's really good on the ball, and he's quite a winger, to be honest. But we need a really clinical striker who can just make a good header. For example, Haaland, he's a great example of this player. And but yeah, I guess the attacking side of things really matters for Chelsea at least at this time of period. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, when I look at Jackson, I think he's kind of, you get rid of Kai Havertz and you kind of replace him with a similar type player. He's a forward player, but will never get you 20 goals a season. It seems a bit strange. I think that seems to be a common theme in football now. I think obviously Liverpool have players that can do that. City have players that can do that. Even Arsenal don't really. They do score goals from all over the team. But yeah, Chelsea just don't seem to be clinical enough, and they just haven't got that Arsenal defence, which is a massive difference.
I mean, just talking about Chelsea at this point, sometimes, for example, personally, me thinking about the type of just the game itself, how Chelsea should play, sometimes it just should be a bit more just traditional, I guess, just having a winger who can just cross the ball and the striker who can just finish it. I think that's what Chelsea is lacking at this point, because I mentioned before, we have so much talent in the team, so many good players that can be great technically, and have a lot of ambition as well, but sometimes it should just be a bit more classical, so yeah.
Yeah, it's strange because Chelsea always had really, really good number nines. You talk about Drogba or Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank. People that they were just goal scorers. Weren't as technical. Drogba was amazing. I love Drogba. He was brilliant. Dragged you through, won your European Cups on your own in that final. I still remember he was fantastic. But there's not many of those players around, so it does seem like everybody wants to kind of walk it in, and that might be the Pep influence.
Yeah, I mean, talking about Pep, I think probably one of the best coaches in the world right now. The game that he's playing with City, obviously City has a lot of good players as well. But the game that he is trying to show to fans is just, it's not even football. I think it's already art, to be honest. There is no even tactics anymore. It's just complete art, as I mentioned before, for Pep, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, they're a team that are great to watch, even as a neutral. If City are on, you kind of always want to watch it. And same Liverpool. I think there's certain teams that Chelsea used to be the same. Arsenal probably similar as well. I think that's probably the beauty of the Premier League. I do know that you don't just support a team in the Premier League as well. So we'll touch upon your other team as well, Shakhtar Donetsk, who are 2 points clear with 2 games in hand. Do you think that league is sewn up already?
I mean, Shakhtar Donetsk, talking about Ukrainian league, has been always, kind of in a position of top 3 at least, and with such a great squad as well of Shakhtar Donetsk. I mean, I think it's quite obvious that Shakhtar is going to win the league at this point, to be honest. I mean, I do really hope so, at least. So yeah.
Well, I was having a look. I don't know a huge amount about Ukrainian football. I know Shakhtar Donetsk and Dynamo Kiev. They're probably the two teams that I think everybody outside know because they're always European regulars. Who's the team that's in second place? I couldn't even pronounce them, I'll be honest.
Nah, it's a team called Krivbas. Krivbas.
Yeah, see, I've never heard of them. Are they an up and coming team? Where are they? Where have they come from?
I mean, that's kind of Ukrainian football at this point. You know, sometimes you just can see the team that has never played well, and then one season there is like just a huge improvement in football quality. So, but yeah, I mean, this team Krivbas, I mean, it was not a great team, you know, before this season. But yeah, sometimes, I mean, quite often, I have to say, in the Ukrainian football league, this happens. You know, just a random football team just comes to the top. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it's happened in La Liga this year. I don't think they're anywhere now. I can't remember the team. There was a team that's not Granada. There was a team who was doing really well in Spanish football. I think they've dropped away now. But yeah, it's strange in some of those leagues. I mean, it's interesting to get your thoughts really on like the competitiveness of the Premier League, because we do see like the Sheffield United game as an example. You know, bottom of the league, but actually competing with big boys. Do you think that the Premier League is unique like that?
I mean, you know, obviously we all know that Premier League is the best league in the world, you know, and just seeing the fact that there is no just a team that will win everyone. You know, for example, Man City at this point, well, everyone thought that they're going to be invincible this season, but unfortunately, not this season, and probably not, you know, in the foreseen future as well. But I mean, yeah, seeing Sheffield United even being the last in the Premier League and just still competing for not being relegated, you know, it's still quite good, to be honest, and it adds a lot of enjoyment as well to the every single game as well.
Yeah, and it's always interesting to hear about from people that I have a second team, and I have this question for a lot of Scottish players, Scottish people. If Shakhtar were dropped in the Premier League, where do you think they would finish?
I mean, you know, I really want to be positive, but but the quality of football is a bit different. I mean, obviously, Shakhtar is a great team, you know, and just I will emphasize a couple of seasons before when Shakhtar won Real Madrid as well in the Champions League. It was a great game. I think it was 4-3, if I'm not mistaken. And but yeah, I think middle of the table should be the place for Shakhtar, at least for the first season. But yeah, I have to say that Shakhtar has huge potential as well. It's quite similar to Chelsea as well, because it's a really young team with huge talents, you know, that are going to be really famous in a couple of years. But yeah,
cool. And who do you think will win the Premier League this year?
You know, I mean, I guess I really have this feeling of Arsenal winning this league, to be honest. But you know, obviously not supporting any top three teams. I really want Klopp to win the last season of his you know, of his career in Liverpool, to be honest, because it would be really nice for him to leave with a trophy, with a Premier League trophy. But yeah, I really wanted Liverpool to win, but I think Arsenal is gonna do this, to be honest. I just have this feeling, to be honest. I can't explain why, but I just have this feeling.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the Klopp factor will drag them over the line. I don't think they have the strongest squad. I don't think they've got the easiest running, but I just think Klopp's got something about him that just galvanizes players. And they've got a lot of injuries as well. But they could do it. I think they could sneak it.
Yeah, it would be nice, to be honest. You know, I mean, Liverpool, you know, with such a young squad as well, like you just can't imagine, you know, 17-year-old players just playing against really mature players against them, and you know, Liverpool still being in the top of the league is just really impressive as well. So yeah, it would be really nice for Liverpool to win the league.
Awesome. Well, look, Bogdan, I really appreciate your time. Thank you very much for coming on. I hope Chelsea do better next year as a West Ham fan. I don't know. I hope Shakhtar do well. I say that.
I mean, thanks for this at least. All right. But yeah, thank you for inviting me as well. It was a pleasure to be here and to talk to you as well. But yeah, thank you.
Great stuff. Cheers, Bogdan. Okay, so that's the Talking Ball show for this evening. Thanks very much for coming on. I will see you next week, Monday at 8 p.m.